That's Sports Off Center, and one of our favorite guests has returned to us, Stephanie Stradley, who is known as the Texans Chick.
Yes.
And after your last appearance, I got all these emails about, I feel so guilty now because I don't know as much football as the lady that you had on. Stephanie is an attorney here in town, a mom, and one of the more knowledgeable football fans, be it male, female, or whatever. And I thought just quickly before we get into the Texans mix, a take on the Super Bowl. Mike and I were wondering if anyone's excited about it. Does it move you either way?
I guess the only reason why I'm paying attention to it, other than it being, the championship, is I actually met Ken Wisenhunt at the Super Bowl in 2007, right before he was.
So you have some sort of romantic interest?
No. He was absolutely, couldn't be any more genuine. He let me try on his Super Bowl ring, and I did a little dance with it, trying to steal its mojo. And apparently it didn't work, but maybe it worked for the Cardinals, because obviously they're playing really well down the stretch.
So you're basically just a wild woman on the road, stealing guys, taking guys Super Bowl.
I actually was writing a series of blog posts about Super Bowl parties. And so it was my job to go to parties and meet people and dance around with the Super Bowl.
That's a job I've often taken to task myself and never been paid for. Stephanie blogs and has articles all the time in the Chronicle, and also appears on Sports Radio 15, or not Sports Radio. It's one of the other ones I don't work for.
Yeah,
so if I mess up the name, it's not my fault. 15, 16. She does it during football season. Let's talk about the Texans. They've made changes defensively in the coaching staff, but not necessarily in the defense. We'll see what happens with free agency, the draft, way down the line in April. Do you feel better about this offseason than you did the last offseason?
I do. I mean, I had concerns about the defense the last offseason, mostly because they didn't make any significant changes, and the same problems that they had in the previous years were there. And they've been ranked in the bottom of the league for the last 4 years. I mean, I had somebody run some statistics, numbers people, that I'm not a numbers person. They said the Texans have had the worst defense over the last 4 years. And so at least this year, I think that there's acknowledgement that there's a problem.
Yes.
And so, they fired the coordinator, they fired selective position coaches, and, but clearly they're going to need some more players to play for them. So.
You are not bashful when it comes to either accolades or spanking somebody as to whether they've had a good job or a bad job. Richard Smith, the fired defensive coordinator, who was on the bubble almost from the first game of the season, and we on the radio couldn't figure out why he still had a job. Those blogging the same way. This seemed to be a popular decision, and to a degree, I don't know whether it's fair or unfair, but he certainly didn't look like he was going to keep the job.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why he stayed on so long is the first year, he was switching from 3-4 defense to a 4-3 defense, and they really didn't have the personnel. But they started off really poorly that year, but then they started playing better. So the thought was the next year they were going to play better, and they played slightly better, but not much. Maybe moved up one position. So, but they ended the year well. So, it was kind of a fool's gold situation. They thought that with a third year with more players, maybe they could make a difference, and they were still having the same
Other
problem.
side of the ball, a lot of complaints. Matt Schaub, soft, 300-pound guy like Albert Hainsworth falls on you. I don't care. You could be Mr. Universe, and you're going to get hurt. You feel pretty good about the offense.
Yeah, I do. I mean, the things that have knocked him out of games have clearly been, things that have been fine. Jared Allen. I did an analysis of it. You can see that he, it pretty much looked like he intentionally took out the guy's knees, after he threw the ball. It's not something that he could particularly prevent, and he ended up getting fined with $50,000. I think it was one of the biggest fines in the league this season. They've just had buzzard's luck with that kind of injury, but they've still been able to make the offense work even with those.
And they, Slayton's been such a tremendous find, and looking forward to the draft. I'd like to have you back. We get a little closer to the draft. I'd like to get your thoughts on what they're going to go up. Now, this coming up right now is something we do all the time, and as a football person, you will appreciate this. We sent a fellow into the locker room after we went over the Bears. His name is Anto, and he is from Ireland. He had never seen an American football game. We gave him a microphone. I'll probably get my credentials pulled for this, but he wanted to talk to Ephraim Salam, even though he didn't know who Ephraim was.
My name is Andrew. I'm all the way from Dublin, Ireland. Before some of the games, the CFC, the national games, I enjoyed it. It's fun.
I'm glad you came and enjoyed it, man. Welcome.
Yeah, we did.
Welcome.
that's my brother-in-law Dave, and also I'm pleased to meet you. And then
Man, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
thank you.
That'd be the most polite post-game interview in the history of post-game interviews. We're going to pray with spirit when we come back. And let's face it, in this town, praying. You know, it's no wonder the summit turned into a church. But there are also synagogues out there doing a lot of praying. When we come back, thank you, Stephanie.
Good to be here.